This miserable island has only one food, sardines. People have eaten it hundreds of different ways: grilled, pan-fried, boiled, air-dried, eaten as candy, pickled, and still, it's disgusting to the point of vomiting. But now this teenager has decided to change this misery. He's going to develop an amazing machine, turning water into all food. This is no joke. Jack soon started experimenting, drawing up the plans, testing the reaction, apply electricity, adding water. Just one last step to go. Order your meal. Cheeseburger, the beginnings of a burger. It's really starting to show. Well, he failed, but Jack was not discouraged. He soon found out why. Not enough power. Second experiment. While the town went to the fairground opening, Jack snuck off to the power station and plugged in the machine. But this time, even more of a failure. The machine burst into flames and crashed the town into the ground. Then it flew straight up into the sky and disappeared. But just when Jack thought he'd failed again, something suddenly fell from the sky. Jack got close enough to see. It was a slice of cheese. What does that mean? Jack turned his head and looked. He's frozen. At the same time, everyone in the town was frozen. A huge cloud of color was coming towards the town, and a million black dots falling from the sky. It was the cheeseburger. He's done it. And not only that, the machine was upgraded straight away. It turned into a cloud of food. Everyone was amazed by the food that fell from the sky. They took a bite. They could actually eat it. They had never tasted anything like it before. Everyone was begging Jack to make something else. It was the first time people recognized his invention, including his favorite weather girl, Jack. Of course, couldn't refuse. This was the end of the town's misery. In the morning, the bacon and egg draft was coming in at the same time, and in some places, orange juice rain. Noon, chicken thighs fall from the sky, a large handful of them, and for dessert, rainbow candy flying out of the clouds, sprayed straight into your mouth. Ice cream covers the whole town, turning the streets into giant tricolored cups. Every day is like a full meal, and the man behind it all, Jack, has become the town's hero. From a man everyone hates to a man everyone loves. Even the mayor has asked him to work with him. He wanted to work with him to turn the town into a food mecca. But there was only one person who wasn't happy about Jack's success. His father still didn't support him. This day, Jack takes his dad out to dinner. Suddenly a huge steak falls out of the sky. Looking at the abnormal size of the steak, Dad got a little worried. Jack was advised to turn off the machine, but the newly successful Jack didn't listen. The father and son were separated. But just as Jack was on his way home, a giant hot dog fell from the sky. Jack woke up from his rage, and he realized that without realizing it, the food had grown several times larger, and the town was in a mess. Jack took the hot dogs back to check. He found that the food molecules were becoming unstable, and the hazard detector turned yellow. As Jack hesitates, a voice suddenly called out to him. It was the mayor. In just a few months, he's become such a man. Jack tells him of his doubts, but the mayor didn't give a damn. What's the point of one man objecting? The food festival opens tomorrow, and you'll have the approval of millions. On the other hand, if you turn off the machine now, you'll be the sinner of the town. Afterwards, no one will ever like you again. It's your choice. The choice. Finally Jack was convinced. He pushes the button. The machine in the sky takes orders again. Only Jack can't see it anymore. The machine is now a bit crazy. And sure enough, the next day the food festival opened. By the time all the visitors had gathered in the square, the danger had finally arrived. In the air, the spaghetti gathered and turned into a giant tornado. It began to come towards the town. The meatballs hit the ground like meteorites. Spaghetti fries scattered and buried the crowd. And the culprit for all this, it was the food machine that dropped from the sky. Only now, it's been severely mutated. Jack rushed back to the studio. He finally made up his mind. The machine must be shut down, but the greedy mayor refused to allow it. The mayor threw the carrot at Jack. Jack immediately dodges, pressing the button, but it's too late. Before the command could reach him, the turnip crashes into the launcher. This is the end. Jack can no longer control the food machine from the ground, and at that moment, the meteorologists have detected an even more frightening message. The spaghetti storm was just an appetizer. Soon, this storm will soon sweep through New York, Paris, and even China. In 4 hours, the whole northern hemisphere will be a feast. Only no one will have the pleasure of eating. Soon, her words were echoed. The black giant was approaching the town. All food becomes a deadly weapon. Cherries turned into bombs. Pancakes cover the whole school. In a time of crisis, Jack finally comes up with a solution. Since he can't control it from the ground, he'll build a flying car to turn off the food machine in the sky. And so he did. When the flying car is built, Jack took the weatherman, the cameraman, and a big baby who came after him. The shutdown team set off with Dad watching, but the journey is far more dangerous than they thought. Halfway through the flight, the weatherman realizes something is wrong. The machine is surrounded by food. It's like a giant, weird planet. Even intelligent planets have appeared around it. Just as the team approached the machine, a huge plate of pizza starts to chase it like a missile. In a panic, Jack loses the stop program. He had no choice but to call, asking his dad to open the computer for him, sending the file to his phone by email. Time was of the essence. His dad had to agree. He walks into the bathroom stall with difficulty, sitting on his butt, finally inside the lab, but lifting the curtain. Dad was stunned. How could he know how to use something so high-tech? He had to call Jack, and by now, the team had entered the planet. Jack and his men had lit marshmallow torches. They were cautiously crossing the fried mountain. The slightest misstep could result in them falling into the hot oil and melting away. Jack had to jump. Jack has to guide his dad carefully. Find the mouse. Drag the mouse. drag it again. He's almost at the point of sending. Suddenly there was no sound from his dad's side. It turns out that the town's abandoned food dam had collapsed. The food had completely flooded the town, and his dad hadn't been spared either. It's not all bad. Jack has a terrible problem on his side too. They turn their heads, stunned. The cave was thick with giant roast chickens. Jack and the others turn and run, but it was too late. Before they reached the entrance of the cave, they were surrounded by roast chickens. The big baby doesn't know the danger, and he went to tease the roast chicken. What to do? That's when Jack got a text message. It's his dad crawling out of the food pile. A blocking message from his dad. Jack was finally relieved, but before he could rejoice, the roast chicken swallowed the phone again, and provoked Jack. Suddenly, the roast chicken next to him fell to the ground. It started to vibrate. The roast chickens were dumbfounded. It turns out that the baby has taken over the roast chicken's body. He became very agile. He quickly led Jack and the others out of the circle. The baby handed Jack his mobile phone, and told him to stop this food disaster. Time was running out. The food disaster is spreading around the world. Giant bagels are hitting New York. Black tea rains down on Britain. A fortune biscuit suddenly falls on the Great Wall. A note inside reads, "You're about to get smashed by a big corn." And then, the corn really came. The only hope right now is for Jack to destroy the food machine. Jack and the weatherman rush forward, but there was another hurdle ahead. The cave that leads straight to the machine. The cave that leads to the machine is full of peanut butter spikes, and the weatherman is allergic to peanuts. To protect the girl he loves, Jack ties up the licorice candy, letting the weatherman pull him along, and started to descend slowly, when the ground suddenly shook. As soon as the weatherman lost his footing, her body suddenly fell off, but she caught it just in time, before Jack was poked through. But the weather woman was stabbed with peanut brittle. Allergies caused her arm to swell up quickly. Jack noticed something was wrong. And had the baby take her back for treatment. Otherwise, the weatherman would have died of shock. For the safety of the girl he loves, Jack bit off the licorice candy so hard, and fell down. He decided to make up for his mistake alone. Luckily, Jack landed safely. Here he finally sees the real Skyfall food machine. It's been severely mutated. It's like a sentient monster. Jack accidentally steps on a cornflake. The machine reacts quickly, and swipes at it with corn. Luckily, Jack was able to dodge it in time to escape. How could he approach such an alert machine? How was he going to get close? Jack suddenly had an idea. He used prawns as hooks, licorice candy as a rope, hang the donut, and he found the right moment. The next moment the machine launches the food, and with a jump, trap the machine hard. Jack finally has a chance to plug in his phone, only to find Dad had sent the wrong file. Is this a lost cause? No. Jack looks at his shoes. It was his first invention. He puts on his spray shoe. He used it to seal the hole in the machine. And sure enough, the machine couldn't hold it. Finally, in a big explosion, this food storm was officially put to an end. The team returned to town. Dad arrived anxiously, only to see the sad face of the weatherman. But just when everyone was desperate, a black shadow appeared in the sky. It was Jack, with the mouse bird he once invented. He's back from the dead once again, looking at his lost son. Dad was so excited, but when he opened his mouth, he couldn't say anything. The meteorologist finally couldn't stand it. He took off the monkey's heart translator and put it on his dad. And now, the man who had been so silent finally spoke his mind. There was a time when he didn't understand his son. He always wanted him to be stable, but it wasn't until he went to the lab he realized that his son, what a precious thing his son had, talent and imagination, that no amount of money could ever replace. But there was something else, more valuable than that, and that is understanding and love.